In my opinion, Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2 didn't work, and that's a sentence that I never thought would come out of my mouth. With it being revealed in Season 5 Volume 1 that Will had powers, I was stoked at what we got, and that episode genuinely went on to become one of the highest rated episodes ever in the series. But then, 1 month later, here we are now, with the final episode in Volume 2 comfortably becoming the lowest rated episode in the series, and we're now heading towards the show's finale, where the ending could genuinely go either way. Personally, I feel like the handling of Volume 2 wasn't done that great when it came to the story arcs that were being focused on, and I also feel like there were many things that were so different when compared to the likes of Season 4, which, in my opinion, is the greatest season in the show. So with that, I wanted to share why I feel the most recent volume of Stranger Things is going horribly wrong, what's caused it, what should have changed, and I want to answer if the finale has the potential of saving it. So let's get into it. Here is why Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2 failed. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Holly is having too much screen time. One thing that I feel that I'm noticing a lot with this season of the show is the fact that Holly Wheeler, a character that had next to no screen time in the first 4 seasons of the show, feels like she's now dominating the show more than any other character. I understand that she's been used alongside Max, and I also understand that it ties into the wider plot point of Vecna wanting these vessels to be able to create his new world after the Abyss merges with Hawkins. However, I almost don't feel like we need to spend as much time watching Holly just go round in circles in almost making it out, then not making it out, and going right back to square one. All of the screen time that we're having with Holly is essentially being taken away from the main characters, and characters such as Mike, Lucas, Hopper, Joyce, and Dustin feel like they've been put on the back burner, when in reality they make up one large core part of why we fell in love with the show. The reliance on Holly Wheeler is something that I'm disappointed in, and whilst it's provided some interesting moments, such as seeing the Abyss and that moment where Vecna was taken over by Will, it just feels very repetitive, and when going all the way back to episode 2 of season 5, she's no further away than what she initially was when she was taken. It's just going round in circles. I'd rather have more time with Hopper or the main group and see how they're planning on saving Holly and getting closer to destroying Vecna and the Upside Down. This isn't a dig at the performance of Holly, because I think Nell Fisher does a great job, but in my mind, this is on the Duffer Brothers. It's on them because they made the creative decision to include this arc that, whilst it is connected to a lot of the revelations that we're having and the point of the group wanting to save her, but not that much is actually happening within it. Henry isn't as evil as he was before. Another thing about this new volume that's frustrating me quite a lot is the performance of Henry Creel and the way that he's been written. In Season 4, Henry Creel, not Vecna, came across as this extremely evil human being in the way that he spoke and acted. Even the look that he had in his eye. Jamie Campbell Bower gave Henry Creel something that just made me feel so uncomfortable when he was on screen. However, this time round, he's got more of a soft-spoken, kind attitude, which feels in complete contrast to what we were initially shown. I understand it's most probably like that because he's talking to children and he's wanting to present himself as their friend. But in my opinion, I loved the Henry Creel from Season 4 that felt like he had darkness within him to his core and looked like this when he was staring down at Eleven. He felt like a force to be reckoned with, and now I just don't quite get that. Then when you look at Vecna, there was something about Will just being able to tap into his mind and break his foot as easily as he broke a Demogorgon's that just doesn't sit right with me. This is the Vecna from Season 4 that Eleven had to channel everything that she had within her to break free, and also the Vecna that absolutely annihilated everything and everybody in his path when he was shown to us in Season 5 Episode 4. But I feel like we've just not seen as much of that darkness that truly makes Henry Creel and Vecna the almost iconic villain that he is. That's what Vecna had the potential of being, this generation's Voldemort, and not only is the 3.5-year wait a reason as to why he won't be that, but also it's because the character just doesn't feel as evil as what he once did. Dr. K is a pointless villain. Brenner was a character that I loved in the show. He was the original villain, and his motives and intentions and the exploitative nature of what he was like felt like it had a purpose. With Dr. K, I feel like she's only had a handful of lines, and she's been made to be one of the main villains in the final season. It almost feels like they just wanted to bring in the name Linda Hamilton and had to find a way to make the character work. I get that it connects to Carly's story of her making the point that there'd always be somebody out there that would use Papa's work to create more numbers, but in my opinion, she's not had enough screen time, not had enough valuable moments, and she just feels like a bit of an afterthought. The tonal difference to Season 4 and Season 2. I think the first 4 episodes of Season 5 had a tone as close as possible to Season 4 and Season 2. The season where I feel Stranger Things was at its best, and it felt the most tonally aligned to the story. They're dark, immersive, and they have an element of horror to them. Season 4 captured that perfectly, and every episode truly felt terrifying in one way or another. However, what Volume 2 of Season 5 did was it just kind of removed all of the stakes. The Duffer Brothers were mentioning in the build-up to Volume 2 how they cried when they watched Episode 6, and it made me feel like there was a death that was on the horizon. In Season 4, killing off Eddie was a bold move and I respected it, and with this being the final season, I feel like something like that needs to happen. So far, now with only 1 episode to go, there have been 0 major deaths. I just feel like not having the bottle to kill off characters when there's been plenty of opportunities to is something that I think is a shame. This volume almost felt like things like that would happen, but there's just never been any consequences. It just feels like there's plot armor on the characters where they can be written out of any situation, and it's a bit of a shame. Season 4 didn't quite have that. I remember Max being claimed by Vecna and being shocked, seeing Henry Creel's father talking about the Creel house and what occurred and just thinking it was horrifying. Henry Creel doing the Hawkins Lab massacre and being in shock too, and I just don't think there have been any true tonally dark moments, which I think is a real shame. The reliance on the stage play. Sadly, what I feel I'm coming to terms with is the fact that the flashbacks that we're being teased with might end up being an advert for the stage play, which I think is so disappointing. This is because the first shadow basically tells the story of what happened in the cave, Henry going to Dimension X and his first interaction with the Mind Flayer when he got his powers for the first time. All of this genuinely feels like crucial information that every fan of the show should know, and with there only being 1 episode left, it doesn't necessarily feel like there's that much breathing room to allow an entire backstory on Henry Creel to be told. If we'd have got this information earlier, then we could have found out more about the Abyss and the fact that there was a place where the darkness was actually born and where the Mind Flayer was housed, rather than leaving it right until the final episode. It just feels like the Duffer Brothers missed an opportunity with this, and it would have added so much more depth to the show and also the character. Carly's story feels thrown together. The more I'm seeing Carly's story developing, and now the fact that she wants Eleven to end things so that nobody goes after her or her friends, I'm starting to think that she was a late addition to the writing stages because the brothers were basically aware of the fact that the fans across the world had almost made a meme about the fact that Carly was this forgotten character. Don't get me wrong, I feel like the incorporation of Carly could have worked, but it just almost feels like it's too little too late. I just can't help but think, why is this something that's been thrown into the mix in the final 4 episodes of the show? There's so much already going on that Carly's arc, which is causing friction in the story, is almost taking away from the wider point of it. Eleven has come a long way over the course of the 5 seasons of the show, and with her just being told to sacrifice herself and her just going along with it and not saying anything to Hopper or Mike is now out of character. Yeah, in Season 2, when we had a rebellious Eleven that didn't like being told what to do by Hopper and hadn't quite established herself, she'd probably be more likely to not say anything. But what we've come to learn from her is that her friends are her true family, and her just being so close to Carly is something that I just don't buy into. Hopper's protective arc isn't getting enough screen time. Now, I feel like Hopper's arc is building towards him either dying at the hands of Carly because he's going to be protecting Eleven, or he's going to be severely injured because of her. If that's the case, I fear that Hopper isn't getting enough screen time to make that storyline as impactful as it's probably going to need to be. We've seen him mention a handful of times how he can't lose Eleven because he doesn't want to experience losing a daughter again, and if he does lose her, that's what it's going to be like. However, other than their brief appearances in the Upside Down in Volume 1 together, it feels like they've not really been together on screen that much this time round. Yes, we know that Hopper cares about her, but in order for a large moment like that to work, there needs to be fresh screen time in our minds. So by not having that, I do feel like it's taking away from what feels like is on the horizon. If you can't tell, it's safe to say that I am extremely disappointed with Volume 2 of Season 5. With the way that the first volume concluded, with it being revealed that Will had powers, it felt like the show couldn't go wrong. However, Volume 2 just really didn't work for me. In Season 5 Episode 4, we left at arguably the highest point in the show, and once we returned, it then led to the lowest point ever. I am hopeful for the finale of the show, as the Duffer Brothers have written great episodes in the past, so I've still got trust in them. There's now just a little bit of a seed of doubt that's there, but we'll see in literally a couple of days' time if it's going to be good or not. So, there you have it, why Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2 failed. If you want to see more videos on Stranger Things Season 5, then check the playlist below. I'm going to be covering the finale as we enter the new year, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. What did you think of Season 5 Volume 2? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.